Hi, David Dalton with the Indiana Department of Transportation. I am joined this afternoon by our District Deputy Commissioner of our Crawfordsville District, Shane Spears. Thank you for taking time to speak with me today, Shane.
You're more than welcome. I'm very glad to be able to talk with you.
So I was wondering if we could just get started. If you could share kind of a brief overview of your career journey from where you started to where you are now.
Sure. So I just celebrated my 26th year here at INDOT.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I started when I was 18, almost 19 years old. Started as a seasonal. I'd been to college for a semester and things just didn't work out, and kind of had a surprise start to a family. So I was lucky enough to get on as a seasonal at INDOT and became a full-time employee in 1994, and just kind of started making my way up through the different opportunities that INDOT offered as far as training and the educational reimbursement program, to where I started as a seasonal in construction, went to testing and worked full-time in testing 9 years, kind of making my way through the different positions there. I did leave testing for a while, went to construction, was an inspector in construction for a couple of years, and then went back to testing as an independent assurance tech. So I worked several years. I started going back to school because I knew I kind of had a personal goal. I wanted to finish college, but also I knew if I wanted to continue moving the organization or do anything different, I needed to get that diploma. So I got into management here at INDOT in 2006, where I was more not working in the field and more in the management side here, and really got more heavily into my education and trying to complete it. So I went to school part-time 8 years to get my bachelor's. I ended up with a bachelor's degree in technology management, associates in IT, and then a bachelor's in technology management. So I've taken the opportunity every chance I could to any trainings INDOT offered, and then using that educational reimbursement program, and just kind of made my way through the organization and management to where I'm at today as a district deputy commissioner here at Crawfordsville.
That's quite a career journey when it comes to starting out as seasonal. I think that really illustrates where you can start and really where you can go within our agency. That's impressive.
Yeah, so there's a lot of opportunities here. There's a lot of different aspects of INDOT that one reason I was glad to do this to be able to show what you can do at INDOT. Yeah, I will say people, I grew up in a town of 3,000 in southern Indiana, and I did move a little bit. So there's opportunities here. You may have to pull up your roots a little bit, but didn't have to go too far to take those opportunities.
So just real quick, so you started out as a seasonal highway technician 3, is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
So in your current role, I imagine there's a lot that you that you have to do in any given day, a lot of responsibilities. But if there is a typical day, what would it look like for you as a district deputy commissioner, or some of the responsibilities that you have?
Yeah, I think a typical day is a lot of meetings, and those meetings are based on, I'm over west central Indiana. We have roughly 15 full counties and 3 other additional, or parts of other counties, so about 17 counties. And that includes 8 departments with 7 direct reports. So a lot of my time is spent meeting with my directors and just helping them try to get roadblocks out of their way to deliver good services for the taxpayer, right? And a lot of times I feel like it's easy in some ways, but harder in others. But it's easy what the people need as far as just staff needing help getting the right tools they need, right? And just trying to clear roadblocks for them to get the right tools they need and deliver great service for the taxpayers of Indiana. That's why we're all here. We're public servants, right? So a typical day is spending time in meetings with a lot of my staff, but also responsible for, just relationships with local elected officials and making sure our comms people are giving them answers that may not always be the answer they want. We're trying to help them find an amicable solution as well.
Yeah, it sounds like it's really focused on people serving people, public service,
Ab-
and
yeah, absolutely. It's and serving people is a good point of people just they want to know the leadership is there and try to
mhm.
provide that good leadership of not micromanagement, but again, giving them the tools they need to head in the direction they want to head, you know.
So when you were in high school, was there any career path that kind of pushed you in this direction, or how did you go from where you were as a high school age student to that transition into a seasonal employee? And was there a change over time from where you thought you'd be to where you are now?
Yeah, for sure. At one point, I was going to school for to be an art major, you know. So
Yeah.
so to go to the thought of I was going to go to Chicago and go to the Chicago Institute of Art and Design to you know, being a construction inspector, it was a
Hmm.
total difference, you know. Um, when I was in high school, I knew I wanted to go to college. I really didn't know honestly what for, as far as what am I going to do the rest of my life.
Sure.
And honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to do the rest of my life until I kind of got into management here 10 years ago. So
Hmm.
35 years old, it's like, oh, okay, this makes sense. This is kind of what's going to stick, you know. Um, so 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 being in high school and to where I'm at today, it ended up being more of a necessity of, you know, starting a young family
Hmm.
and trying to figure out how do you get by, but also be satisfied with the job that you had, you know.
Sure, sure. Uh, so if well, it's kind of interesting because it's almost like, sometimes your career finds you. You don't
Right.
necessarily find your career. Uh, if you could go back and give yourself a piece of advice, or as you were thinking about career exploration, what would you tell yourself?
I think this is the same thing I've told my kids. I have two grown kids in college and one's out, and try to encourage everybody to go down the path that you're interested in,
Hmm.
but also be mindful of where you want to be in the future geographically.
Sure.
Do you want to stay living in Southern Indiana? So use myself as an example. Want to stay, most likely going to stay in Southern Indiana. What am I going to do with an arts degree, right?
Mhm.
So pursue your passion, but also be realistic on what kind of, honestly, what kind of living do you want to make? Where you want to
Mhm.
be? Because if it's small town Indiana, maybe an engineer degree is more aligned to be able to give you satisfaction, but also be able to live, right?
Sure. Sure. Uh, so thinking about what you do today, what would be a skill that you have to be successful in your current role? And it could be more than one skill, but what would be one that would kind of stand out for you?
Yeah, when you when you say skills, I think first thing that comes to my mind is soft skills.
Mhm.
You know, it's kind of a buzzword maybe, but it truly is. With my directors and some of the people that report to Crawfordsville, they've heard me say C squared is cooperation and collaboration. It's
Mm.
truly working with people, and some people have the skills. They have a better skill of understanding personalities and where people are coming from and requests they're having, or just what they require as an employee or even a manager.
Sure.
So, you know, people skills or soft skills is what helps me in this position. I feel like, you know.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because I think that's, technical skills you can be taught, but some of the
Mhm.
intangibles, that'll take you far. Just having a positive attitude, a work ethic, and
Yep.
yeah, communication. So that I think that's a really great point that you bring up.
Yeah,
Um,
and the work ethic. I just retold this story the other day. I'll say it with you. You know,
mhm.
when I was young and starting that young family and got on with INDOT. You know, my grandma told me no matter what job they're giving you to do, even if it's just sweeping the floor, you do the best job you can do sweeping the floor.
Mhm.
And that's probably the best life advice I've been given is, you know, whatever that job is in front of you, do the best you can at it and it'll all work out, right? So
Yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah. Yeah,
Sage.
yeah.
uh,
Grandma and grandpa, right? So,
what do you like most about this industry as a whole, and specifically INDOT?
um, so as much as the highway industry stays the same, it also changes.
Mm-hmm.
So, our ultimate goal is getting people from point A to point B, or services and goods from point A to point B, as safely and efficiently as possible. But the industry has changed so much in the past 25 years, on as much as the materials we use to build the road, to maintain the road, to the different test methods on how to test the materials, just as simple as when I started 25 years ago, we had one mainframe computer in the district. Now everybody has a computer in their pocket, and we're having meetings on it,
Mm-hmm.
face-to-face meetings. So that's why I like and stay in this industry is it's it's the same, but it's entirely different how we get to the same endpoint.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Uh, so we're going to wrap up in here in just a moment, but if you could, and you kind of talked about this a little earlier, but if you could offer just a general advice or tip about to a student that's thinking about a career path within this industry, within INDOT even, wanting to learn more about what it is that we do, maybe what you've done, what advice would you give them?
Um, I, I think the same thing, like you said, I mentioned earlier, is follow your passions, but be honest with yourself on where you
Mm-hmm.
want to be. Um, so if all of your family is in Evansville, Indiana, and you're going to stay in Evansville, Indiana, your passion may be art, and maybe you go and get that art degree, but also think about what your minor is going to be to make sure you can be gainfully employed in the area
Mm-hmm.
you be in. That makes sense.
Sure, sure.
Because I think the last thing any of us can do is not pursue our passions, but you also have to be realistic on just the local economy on what your
Mm-hmm.
passions can get for you.
Absolutely. No, I think it's good to be, realistic and have a sense of being able to do both, right? Being able
Yeah,
to blend that.
and
Um,
know that, and have know that what your passion is today may not be what it's going to be in 20 years, and try to
Absolutely.
have that inside of just yourself, and being honest with yourself on, because I started in IT, and as far as my education goes, and I had the opportunity to work in IT here at INDOT, and it got to the point where I got bored,
Mm,
just because the while I enjoyed the work, it just wasn't what um, what I wanted to do.
mm-hmm.
So when I got into management and finished my degree, was still in an IT background, but it was management of IT personnel, right? And that ended up fitting in very well with what we do at INDOT with very technical people.
Mm-hmm.
So, while I still have that heart of the arts and want to be able to draw and paint, I can also associate that what I do every day with working with different personalities and
Yeah.
and feel satisfied.
Well, thank you for your time. I only have one last question, and I'm just curious. Maybe if you could share something positive that's happened to you recently, or maybe something that you're looking forward to.
I think something positive, this obviously with the COVID and opportunities to work remote, but also I've got the opportunities to work with the staff that are out on the road working every day. And right now, springtime, we're doing spring inspections of our big yellow trucks after the
Mm-hmm.
winter, and that consists of us getting the trucks ready, cleaning the salt off, trying to scale the rust and paint it, and just preserve and protect our $150,000 equipment,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's the positive is showing up and having a crew of, of people smile and just be glad that you're there and taking
Mm-hmm.
notice of what they do every day. And kind of goes back to what I was mentioning earlier, is just showing that support of what you do is important and trying to tie that in with them. And like I said, with a $150,000 piece of equipment, you cleaning on this for 2 days may extend this life for us for 2 years. We have to buy a new one.
Hmm.
So it's I always see the positive and they encourage the positive morale of staff when I show up, and people just like to be recognized, you know.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that, and I look forward to sharing this video with folks that are interested in learning about what it is that you do and what we do as an agency. So thank you again for taking time to share your career journey with me today.
yep, glad to. Thank you.
Mhm.